Okay, dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing Adena here with us today. And just we're speaking on marriage, and we know that the enemy causes a lot of division in marriages, and we just want to be real and speak to whatever people are going through, and just Holy Spirit, just we welcome you and just speak through all of us. It's something that someone really needs to hear. Just speak through us, and we ask this in your name. Amen. So welcome back to the Shining His Light in the Darkness podcast. So we're excited because we have Adena Keading with us with Parkway Life Church. She's a pastor at Parkway Life Church with her husband, Nathan. And then, of course, we have Britton that's always here with us. And so, no, but we're welcome. We're so happy you're with us. This is perfect because this topic is marriage. And we felt like you would be the perfect person because you are actually certified, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a marriage and family therapist.
Okay. Well, that's good. Marriage. And so when did you get that?
2013 is when I graduated.
Is when you graduated. So, okay. Yeah. Well, good. So I feel like you need that, especially being a pastor in church. That probably has been so helpful.
That's why I went back to school. Because I started when we first got married, I thought, I'm going to go into counseling. And my husband looked at me and said, I don't know that you can do that. Well, I was really offended that he would say
that he would even say that.
Yeah, and I said, and why don't you think I can do that?
Exactly.
And he said, you carry people's burdens too much. Like, you want to fix it. You bring it home. You want to, I would just think about it because we were youth pastors at the time, and I would just take those kids and I wanted to fix everything.
Oh, I could imagine.
Oh, yeah. So he was like, I think you need to figure out how to not carry all of that.
Yeah.
And so we moved, and I went into raising kids years later. And then somewhere along the way, I realized my kids were going to grow up and get out of the house. I was like, what am I going to be doing?
Right.
And so I went back to school. I talked to him, and I said, what do you think I ought to do? And my sister-in-law and I had been deciding this, and she was going to go back for nursing. And I thought, I love nursing. I think I would like it, with people. And he said, I don't think you ought to do nursing. I think you ought to do counseling. And I was like, well, you told me I was doing this years ago. And he was like, yeah, but you have matured and you know how to deal with that.
Right. You weren't carrying it so much. Yeah. Yes, that's right.
And so there I went back to school at Liberty University and got my degree.
How did you decide on marriage?
Yeah.
Actually, they signed me up for what we call a licensed professional counsel, LPC.
Okay. Yeah.
And that deals with all types of mental illness. You can deal with drug addictions, and I can deal with that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I wanted to deal with marriage and family because that's my heartbeat. I did not want to go into the addiction side. I thank God that there are people that have that.
Right.
I wasn't called to that. I really felt like I was called to help marriages and families. And so
right. Especially, you probably have a lot of people asking you advice about that, huh?
I do. And that's another reason that pushed me to go back for that, because here we are, first we were youth pastors, and then as we became pastors, people looked to you for answers. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I can tell you a suggestion, but I didn't know what to do to help people past maybe just a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that is what fueled me to go back to school.
So I have a question. Do you have something like that someone asks you over and over again? Like you see a pattern, like when you help people in marriages, or is it all over the place? Is it different?
You know what? It's really comes down to just a couple of things.
Okay.
It's even if we're dealing with affairs or if we're dealing with lack of communication, it's usually we're not connecting.
Right.
And that I find is the biggest thing, because if we can connect on what I call the 4 Pi or the pies, with your physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual.
Okay, I want to think about that. So
the pies.
Okay, so the pies.
Yes.
And why do they call it the pies?
Marilyn Murray created this. And she calls it the pies because it stands for physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual.
Okay, that makes sense.
And
okay.
You've got to have your pies in your own life. It's got to be balanced.
Yeah.
For your own
for
self
my own
first.
self.
Yes.
Before I can go into a healthy relationship. And then you connect on those pies physically, intellectually, emotionally, and spiritually. And if you can connect on those, then your marriage is going to be really strong.
Right.
Whereas some people may have one area they connect in. Maybe it's just physical. They have great physical, intimate life, but they don't connect intellectually, emotionally, or spiritually. They are going to have a weak marriage.
Right.
But when they can connect on those 4 levels, and the stronger each one is, the stronger your marriage is going to be.
How do you build those other ones if you don't have
all 4?
Yeah.
Then you realize I actually have a little exercise that I do in the office to rate where they are. And then
that's good.
Kind of self-evaluate where you are.
Yes.
And then when you say, okay, intellectually we are really low, first of all, maybe I'm low, so I need to pour into myself.
Oh.
Then that way I can pour into the relationship. So it's got to start with self first.
Right.
And so you figure out where you're at. Emotionally deals with like just being able to talk, have communication, have good conversations.
Right.
Intellectually is being able to just share information on like not a personal, not emotional.
Like about your
whether
day
it's
or
politics, whether it's engineering, whether it's your teaching, whatever it is, connecting intellectually, reading stuff that makes you smarter.
Exactly.
Yes,
Open your eyes, and you can share that.
Yeah.
If I had never gone to school, if I'd never gone to training, I couldn't share the pies.
That's
there, 'cause
right.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I've shared that with my husband. We talk about different things intellectually like that. So spiritually, obviously, that's kind of a,
You
shared
you
going
have to be on the
church.
same page. Yeah. With that.
And,
for sure.
there are people who are not, but maybe they have the other 3 areas that are strong.
Right.
But when you have all 4 of those areas strong and you are connecting constantly with your spouse,
Right.
your marriage is going to be greater.
And last
stronger.
a long
Yes.
time and get strong. That's right. So I was looking up, they have these rules, and I don't know if you go by this, but there was a pastor that I saw on TV, and he said, like, there's no name calling, like, because that's big. That's what people do. No historical, like not going back, in the past. It says never saying, do not say the words never and always.
Yes.
Because, think about that. You always do this or you never do this.
I made that mistake early in our marriage.
You did?
Yes.
And honestly, I think I used to say that in my younger years, like, you never do this. But they said they automatically know that it's not true because never and always, that's pretty much all the time,
Yeah.
And so then it says never say divorce. So that's kind of been a rule between me and my husband. We do not, no matter how mad you are, you do not say that.
That's
because
not on the table.
It's not even on the
Yeah.
table. So do you
Yeah.
tell people that?
Yeah.
Don't
I'm
even.
like, take that off the table. In fact, today, and with a client, I said, that shouldn't even be on the table because if that wasn't on the table, then you're going to look for other options of what's available. And if you have 1, 2, or divorce, well,
that's one of your options.
That's one of your options.
And I know like when my parents were younger, they're 80 and 78 now, but that wasn't even, they didn't even look at those options. That was pretty much, you just made it work, and I just think over the years, especially the younger the couple, it's like, well, that's our option. That's our third option, and and then the last one is never raise your voice, which that's hard. So do you have any rules you tell people or anything you try to tell them to follow?
I don't tell rules because every relationship is different.
Right.
Every couple that comes in is different. Because we were talking earlier, sometimes you're raised in a family that everybody talks really loud.
Right.
Yeah.
And that just becomes what's
That's
normal.
just what
Yes.
you do.
That's your baseline for normal.
True. Yes.
Yeah.
And so to tell a person that is, an Italian family, say for instance, that's just real loud and boisterous, like lower your voice. It's like, I don't know how to lower my voice.
This is how we
This
talk.
is how I talk.
That's true. Yeah.
So it just, you have to figure out what's going to work for this couple. If raising a voice is very yucky for this spouse and it makes this, say, lady feel less than, well, then that needs to be something that we're going to
Right.
do.
Exactly.
So you kind of tailor things. So no, I don't have like, okay, these are the 10 rules for every marriage that I would suggest.
Yeah.
I mean, all those are really, really good.
Those are really good.
Really
and
good.
something and when I heard it, I was like, that's really good. I never heard it putting it out that way. And so, I work with a lot of women because I do the Shine Conference and things like that. And I've been asked this about what if my husband has an affair and he wants to make it work. So do you have people that go through that and maybe their husband or wife's wanting to make it work again? Do you have advice you give them, or what would you tell somebody today that's going through that?
So I hear this more than what I really would like to hear.
I know.
Wish I
I
didn't hear
bet.
it very
Yes, I
often,
know.
but I hear it quite often.
And both sides, the
yeah,
women or the men.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yes.
It's not just, what we used to think of just the man cheating. It's
It's
Right.
both, yeah.
it's both. So first is, do they both want to make it work?
Right.
You've both got to come to the table. I can't, drag somebody in and make them. So if they
Right.
want to make it work, then at the beginning it's so fragile at the beginning.
Right,
When they
yes.
first have knowledge of this. So the first thing that I do with every couple that comes in is I tell the person who has committed the offense,
Right.
you have 24 hours to come clean of everything.
That's good.
And
yes.
I try to tell them, this is your 24 hours.
Don't leave it out.
Don't leave it
Yeah.
out. I don't care if, you didn't think it was important to tell them you stopped by the store. Tell them you stopped by the store. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
they need to know everything.
Right.
Because once we go there and we start at the beginning, then we can move forward.
Because
If
you don't want them to
not-
keep asking, well, what
Mhm.
happened, like down the line?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is, and this I've seen happen a lot. I'll do that 24-hour claim. We're like, come on, tell them
Yes.
everything within 24 hours. And then we're 3 months down the road and we're making progress and something pops up.
Right. They didn't
Oh,
tell
that
everything.
They didn't tell. And then we go all the way back, kind of like in Monopoly.
You go
go
all the way back.
to the start.
Yes, that's right.
And so then at that point, this person doesn't feel like they can trust them again.
Mhm.
So trust has been broken all over again. So we start literally from square one again.
Right.
And you only have so many square ones to start from.
That's true.
After a while, the person's like, I can't trust.
Right.
And a lot of times they'll walk away. So I tell them, please, tell them everything.
Right.
But then my next thing is everything that a person asks, I have every right to ask an offender, or the spouse has every right to ask whatever questions they want.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, I've had some unique questions asked, but they have every right to ask those.
Mhm.
Right. If
But
you want to
then-
start. Yeah.
You're responsible for the answers. So
Yeah.
they give you the answers, but now I'm going to be really gross here. But it
Yes.
sounds like somebody just vomited all over you.
Yes.
Yeah.
You've got to clean all that up.
Right.
And you've got this all left on you.
Right. I didn't think of
and
it that
you've
way.
got to clean it all up. In other words, you got to get rid of it. What are you going to do with it?
Hey, we wanted to take a quick minute out and let you know that our podcast merch came out, and it's Shining His Light in the Darkness. So I have the t-shirt on and Britton has the sweatshirt. The saying on the back of the shirt was inspired by a song, I Really Love Mighty Name of Jesus by Belonging Co. Yeah, so it says power in the name of Jesus, and it says all the power of fear and darkness must go. And that's what we're doing on the podcast. We're shining light on the darkness, and it must go. We have a link in the description. Click on it and you can get your shirt today.
But do you have like a success story of somebody that they were cheated on and then now today their marriage is like happy and fulfilling? And
I wish I could just pull back the names and show you the people
Yes.
that have. I will say that in counseling, in marriage
Mhm.
counseling, the thing that I hate about the counseling part is a lot of times most people will wait too late.
Oh,
Yeah.
And one person has said, I'm done. And they'll,
Right.
they'll come in and they're already checked out.
yeah.
So they wait too late. And so when I'm doing premarital, I'll get back to your question.
Yes.
When I'm doing premarital, I will say, okay, now this is a safe place. If either one of you decide my marriage is struggling, even if the spouse doesn't think it is, agree to come in.
Right.
Agree to find some place that you can go, find that place that you feel safe to talk about whatever it is. Because if we can get those early on in the marriage, then we establish this is a safe ground to come to.
Right.
Then you're not going to wait till you're 15 years down the road and this has become an affair or has become
Yeah.
a major issue that you don't feel like you can talk about.
Mhm.
Yes, I thank
Mhm.
God I have them.
Yes.
Again, first of all, they both had to decide they wanted it.
Mhm.
And sometimes it usually takes one of the people just a little bit to decide. But in this one situation that I'm talking about, an affair had happened. The couple had been married for 20 plus years.
Oh, yeah.
And affair happened late, like probably 27, 28 years. And they just had grown apart, both very successful, very busy,
Mhm.
very career driven. I mean, very successful people. But lives were going in two different directions. And the disconnect was there. the affair started. So when they came to me, they were both broken, and the spouse who had been cheated on was not sure that they wanted to stay.
Right.
And we began to talk. And one thing I recognized, and I've mentioned this a little bit, is the disconnect.
Yes. Yeah, you did. I think that's so good,
It is so important. And so one thing they started doing, and it was just simple, it didn't solve all the problems, but it started, is I had them each do, in a little Ziploc bag, 30 things that they, like, how they felt loved. So maybe it was, roses, or maybe it was a note, or maybe it was a hug, whatever it was. I had them write down 30 things that how they felt loved.
Yeah.
And they put that in their Ziploc. The spouse did the same thing. And then they switched them. And so every morning they would draw this, and they wouldn't tell their spouse, I've got to hug you 5 times today, or whatever. They would just draw it and do this. And they continued to do this. And what really got me is the spouse that had committed the offense took it to a whole nother level. So they would draw that every morning, but they began to leave it in their drawer. So they would do multiple of those in a day as they added to it.
Aww.
And of course, they began to feel the love again. The love was there, but it had gone away because of the disconnect.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I find a lot of people, especially like I'm in my 50s, that they drift apart. And we don't know if it's date night. Maybe they're not. I think date nights are important. Do you? And so, because I always try to tell her that too, because that's how you got to stay connected, especially when you have children.
Yes.
Because you get so caught up in just the day-to-day life of just going everywhere and
It's
work.
kind of, you got to go back and connect to each other.
Yeah.
And you've got to connect to be successful, like really successful. You've got to connect every day.
Yeah, that's right.
Go back to the pies, what I said, physical, intellectual, emotional, and spiritual. And when I say every day, you may not connect all 4 every day.
Right.
But you've got to weekly be connecting several of those every week.
Or you're going to feel disconnected. And then that's when that just creeps in little by little.
That span grows between you. And then you feel like you're over here, he's over here, and you begin to fight your own battles. And you're no longer we, you're me, and this is him.
That's right. I just think about the people that they won't even go to counseling, because that, like a lot of, especially, there's a lot of people that just, I'm not going there. And then they just struggle in this, stay in this, and it's not that big of a deal. Probably when they come to you, it's probably not that big of a deal to come sit with you and talk. And
I will tell you, usually I'll have one that'll, kind of be kicking and screaming to come, so to speak. And usually I'll ask them after, like, well, how was it? It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I'm like, no,
yes, it's not bad.
And especially if they have done something that's really wrong in the marriage, they don't want to come because they feel like, a counselor's going to sit there and go, you are so bad. You did this wrong.
Yeah, they don't want to hear it. Yeah.
It takes 2, and there's, again, you have to own what you've done. But we're all responsible for the connection parts.
Yes, yeah.
And we can get so busy, like you said, kids.
Yeah,
I had 3 kids. My son was 25 months old when I had twins.
Gosh, I still can't. That's crazy.
How you did that.
I had no family there, to help me. We were in Austin, Texas. And, I mean, it was tough. I mean, I hate to say it on a podcast, but there were days I didn't brush my teeth.
I know.
Until like it's 4 o'clock, and I'm like,
it's
I haven't brushed my teeth.
But I mean, you have no time for yourself, much less your marriage.
Oh, being open. There was a time that my husband was like, kind of like, hey, we need to make time for us. And I was like,
no,
get in line.
I know.
Like, I have 3 kids that are very dependent on me.
Yes,
you're a grown man. Take care of yourself.
Exactly.
Until we kind of had a come to Jesus meeting, like, okay, that's not going to work because one day they're going to be gone.
That's right.
And we did not want to look at each other and go, who are you? What do you like?
And you see that. I'm sure I've seen that a lot. You don't know how to be with just each other because it's always been the kids and what they're involved in and everything else, So I know finances is probably a big one too.
Yes.
Because, I always say this, when you come from 2 different households and you get married, I mean, you look at everything differently. You look at finances differently. Maybe your parents were really frugal. Maybe they were big spenders. do you have finances come up a lot?
Yeah.
I bet you do.
And I really recommend Dave Ramsey. If no
Oh,
one's
yeah.
been through Dave Ramsey, he's amazing.
Yes.
But in the Dave Ramsey, he will say, usually you have a spender and you have a saver.
Right.
Usually, which obviously are two opposites,
Right.
which are going to cause friction,
It's right. And all my friends, we've talked like with different friends I have, you always see that there's a spender and a saver. It's funny. And it could be either or. It's one or the other. It's just
But do you recommend like putting finances together or separating them or like?
Well, for me, we did together. That's what I've been married 34 years. That's what worked for us. I highly recommend if you don't do together that you have access.
Right. Yes.
That there are no secrets. Now, as we have gotten older and I have a counseling business, my husband is not on my my account.
Yeah.
Because he can't see necessarily who's charging cards or, coming to counseling. Yeah. However, he has access. There's no secrets in that.
That's right. Yeah.
So I think where we get into it, and then when you get into blended families, that's a really tough one because you've got child support and those kind of things. So again, I'm not saying that works for everyone, but here's what I hear when I have finances come in as a situation in a couple. I have people say, well, I'm paying all the bills and she's, spending, or vice versa, or he keeps all his money and I feel like I'm paying all the bills, or, and that's where it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, you've got to both be contributing. For many years, I did not work. I stayed at home and raised kids.
Yeah.
And so there was a little part that I felt like I wasn't contributing. And then I started paying the bills. He made the money, I paid the bills. We were on the same page because I knew we didn't have money to spend,
True.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just working together on that, I think it's really causes problems when you don't know.
That's so true.
That's
so
true.
Just setting it out there, maybe one spouse does not want to pay bills, and maybe they're a stay-at-home mom. They don't want to, but she needs to know what's going on in the finance. Needs to be able to have a say in what goes on. So I hope that answers.
No, that
does, because I've always wondered that, like, about because I know finance is a big thing.
It is
probably up there to one of the top 3 of issues.
It is.
And go ahead.
But do you ever see like between couples where like there's one that's like really devoted to God and then the other's not, and then they're trying to get the other one to? What do you recommend? Because, I think a lot of women out there want their husbands to spiritually lead.
There's a lot of people probably waiting on this answer.
We see it all the time, and it's just, what's your advice on that?
First of all, think of the pies, back to the pies.
Thank you.
So when spiritually you're not connecting together, you can still build a strong marriage. So I want to say that. But I hear this a lot, ladies. For men, if any man is listening to this podcast, I promise you, women think it's really sexy when you are leading them spiritually.
Yes,
Absolutely.
They do.
It's just, it's something in us like, oh my gosh, he's leading me spiritually.
Yes.
But when your spouse, say your husband is not doing that, I think you have to be the best example without nagging.
Right.
Because nagging is not going to bring him closer to Christ. It's going to put a wedge. And so I think in that, you be Christ-like. You be as strong as you can without putting him down. Because he is where he's at. And maybe he is got this much of God. But build on that. Brag on him.
Yeah.
Create the atmosphere that he wants God. I think we are to be those lights if they are not living or coming that way. Find a place that he likes.
Right.
If you're at a church or a place and you love it, but he doesn't like it, find a place you both can go. I think that's a requirement of us. If we marry someone who is not spiritually strong, I'll give you this example. This is someone got married and they were both smokers at the time. Okay. They both smoked. Well, the lady, God changed her life and did all kind of cool things with her, and she quit smoking. Well, then she began to gripe at him. He's smoking and he needs to stop. And so they came in my office, and she was wanting him to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So she thought, I'm a pastor's wife. She is going to just really work him over. So she came in, and so she didn't like what I had to say, because what I said to her is, I said, did y'all used to smoke together? And then was that part of your, yeah. I said, okay, tonight when you go home, I want you to go out on the porch, sit on the swing. You don't have to smoke, but sit there with him while he does. She didn't like that at all, because that is
that's
they
where
did
they
together.
connected. Yeah.
And so, no, I didn't, want her to go back to smoking, but sit there with him, because that's where y'all's relationship started, in that.
Right.
And, if you can connect those things, that will bring him closer to Christ than you sitting there nagging him.
That's so
You
true.
don't need to do this. You don't need to do this. You need to go to church. You need to do this. That's not going to draw him. Just be Christ-like.
Yeah, because I think they're looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're being domineering and controlling and nagging them, well, they don't see any kind of Christian values in you. It just pushes them further away.
It does.
I could totally see that, because they're looking at you as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they're saying, if that's what Christ-like is, I don't know that I want to be.
I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
This nagging, and I'm never good enough, and I don't do enough. Just be.
That's
Let
right.
Christ walk through you, just like shine through you.
Yes, that's right.
So you can shine to others. So you can make an example
That's
and just
I love
live
that.
for God.
What do you tell somebody that is just hopeless, like they've been married? I have a lady that had reached out to me that literally she has been married for 20, 30 years, and they don't even sleep in the same bed, and they just keep going through the motions, and he won't do anything about it, and she's been praying for him for years. What do you tell somebody in that situation? Just hang in there, or do you say that's
that's a hard, because again, there's stuff behind the obvious.
That's
so,
right.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
But I would say to her, if she came in and just walked up to me and asked me that, I would say, what can you do within yourself to be the best spouse you can be?
Right. There's always something.
There's always something. No one's perfect. We always can change. So let's say if it was me and I changed one thing and made my marriage 10% better.
Right.
It's just up the marriage better.
And maybe it's cooking, or maybe it could be anything.
It could be anything. Just show, again, going back to what you were asking, Brittany, just showing Christ.
Right.
Just loving, because sometimes people don't feel God's love until we love them.
Right.
Because maybe they don't have a relationship with God, or maybe he's a Christian, but something has driven their marriage apart. Just start doing what you did in the beginning. What does he need? How does he need to feel love? Again, I know the spouse obviously needs it, that this lady needs it. But sometimes if we start doing, they'll start.
Then they'll start
Sometimes we create this crazy circle. What do they say? Insanity is doing the same thing. and
Yeah,
expecting
same thing.
Something to change. But all it takes is one person stepping out of that circle.
Right.
So it's going to change the marriage if I become a little bit better, if I do a little bit more, give of myself.
Right.
And, what is more Christ-like but giving of yourself and not expecting anything in return?
That's so true. Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go here. What about intimacy? So we've had people where, and you would think that the man's the one that always wants the intimacy and not the woman, but it could be opposite.
Oh, absolutely.
And so could that be something that's going on, that disconnect we're talking about? Or could it just be medical, or I don't know.
Well, if we're talking about physical intimacy,
physical intimacy.
Is, there's so many things it could be.
Yeah.
But I have noticed a lot. It seems like sometimes if you've married a gentleman,
yes,
the gentleman is not going to continue to ask when you continue to tell him no.
Right.
And I'm not putting this all on women.
No,
this can be
I get what you're saying.
Men or women, okay?
Yeah.
But physical intimacy is a part of marriage.
Right.
Sex is a part of marriage.
Yeah.
God created it. I tell people sometimes, if your husband didn't bring the paycheck home, how long would you stay if he spent it before he got home? Well, we would be like, he's not providing, he's not. Well, physical intimacy is very important in a marriage.
That's right. Yeah.
And so it's got to be this thing that we're giving, but we're also receiving. So, I mean, that's something Love Languages teaches that really
I was going to
strong.
ask you about love languages.
It's really good. if you haven't done it, you can actually take the test free online. I think it's lovelanguages.com, and you can go in there and see what your love language is. But also, I've noticed that women or men will say, I'll give you an example. I had a couple come in and we were talking. They just didn't feel love. Had been married like 25 years. The gap was growing, and it's like he was speaking French and she was speaking Spanish, and they were not communicating.
Right.
I mean, it was getting. In other words, he knew what his love language was. She knew what hers was, but they weren't speaking it.
Right.
And so we were in there. We found out hers was gifts. Okay.
Oh, she liked gifts.
She loved gifts. So he looks at me and he goes, I don't make that much money. I can't send her flowers every week, And I looked at him and I was like, because I'm thinking, okay, lady, come through for me. Like, are you wanting flowers every week? And she was like, she looked at him and she said, I don't want flowers every week. And I said, tell us more. And she said, like, just a candy bar when you stop on your way home from work. And the look on this man's face, he went, a candy bar? Like, like, what do you mean?
Just that you've thought
That
of
you
me.
thought
And
of
that's
them.
what she said. She said, you usually stop by the store on the way home every day. And the fact that if you sometimes picked up a candy bar, that would mean that you were thinking about me. And he goes, the next statement, he said, what kind of candy bar do you want? I mean, he just, and she was like, I don't even care because I'm going to give you half of it anyway. That right there just showed me how we don't communicate.
No, we
It's
don't.
So true. I know.
So even when we go to the intimacy part,
right.
When we think intimacy, we may think automatically sex.
Yes.
But physical intimacy can be a hug. It can be a pat. It can be just holding hands. But for so long, I think I know what his need is, and I think I know how to do that. And so when I do that pat on his back or a hug, I think I'm fulfilling that. But I don't even know what that is because I've not asked. Brene Brown is very famous and does amazing things.
Yeah.
She has a thing that she calls paint it done.
Okay.
And if I ask both of you ladies today, I used this today in the counseling session. And I said, if I asked both of you to paint me a picture of fall, what would you do? So some people will say, oh, it'll be pumpkins and, leaves and things like that. And the other person, I had one client ask me one time, what do you mean? Like fall, the season, or like somebody falling?
Oh my goodness.
God.
And I looked at him and I said, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
So then when they told me what theirs was, I said, well, both of you got it wrong. And they kind of looked at me like, well, how did we get it wrong? Because I want a red truck with an old bridge with some leaves on the ground. That's what I'm expecting when I see fall.
Right.
However, I did not say what I expected. However, if I would have said, I want a red truck with a broken down bridge with leaves all over the ground, you could have done close to that.
Yeah, but we don't say it.
We don't say it. We don't get details. So that's what painting it done means. Paint it done means.
Tell them what you
tell
want.
them. Don't just say, my love language is physical attraction or physical touch, or my love language is acts of service. What does that look like?
Yeah, that's
How
right.
will I know that acts of service are being done? Well, if you do the dishwasher, if you give the kids a bath, that would be acts of service. Then when I told my husband that when I had 3 kids, I was like giving the kids a bath, he was like, done, I can do that.
I can do that. Yeah,
I can
but
do
you
that.
have to just say it.
But we expect, oh, well,
They're
I
supposed to know. Yeah.
And they don't. So paint it done is so important, which is communication, carrying out those details so you know what they're
I
expecting.
think too, it's like we always think about our love languages and we do what we feel loved, and that's not how they feel
No.
loved.
No.
Like
Yeah.
I've learned that with my husband. Like his is more like acts of service, cooking for him, things like that doesn't mean anything to
Like
me.
he'll go make her a coffee, bring it to her.
Like that
you know?
kind of thing. And but it's like you always do, but mine is like words of affirmation. But he doesn't. His is not words of affirmation.
He's
so
bringing
it's just
her
like
coffee and doing those
so
things.
it's just
Yes.
it's like you have to kind of get on the same page with that.
And you have to be willing to do something
Yes,
that
that's
is
not-
not your love language.
Yeah.
But if you do that and you're on this team that you can do that,
Right.
then you're going to feel so much love because all of a sudden he's speaking words of affirmation.
Yes.
And you're doing those acts of service.
Yeah.
So do you ever go to the point where, because this is our podcast, but do you ever go to the point where it's spiritual Like you feel like, because I think the enemy attacks marriages.
Oh, absolutely.
And I see it over and over again. You can just see it in certain marriages. Now, you don't want to say it's always that, but I know that he works to divide, so do y'all go from a spiritual side? Like when
Yes.
you do?
Well,
Okay.
I am what I call a Christian counselor. But the only thing that makes that set apart is the fact that I'm going to use the word of God to build my foundation on.
Right.
I'm not, now, do I use tools and stuff that may not be Christian based? Yes. But we're going to build that foundation on Christian basis. And yes, I feel like the enemy is attacking, what did the enemy attack in the very beginning? He attacked Noah's family.
That's right. Yeah.
And so the family is always going to be attacked, because if he can destroy families, then he's got us.
That's right.
And so marriages take such a big hit. But if you're constantly preparing and taking care of those pies, then you are going to be in a better position spiritually. Connecting on that spiritual level is going to be strong and huge in your marriage.
Yeah, but it kind of goes back to when one, like the spiritual side, when one is maybe going to church, doing everything, and the other one's not, maybe they're not even a believer. I think that allows the enemy to come in easier. And it's, like I said, this is new to me, like within the last 3 to 4 years, but it's something that I'm realizing, and I think people need to be aware of it, that spiritual thing, the enemy's out to steal, kill, and destroy, and destroy your marriages, destroy your families. How do you handle the blended family thing?
That is probably one of the toughest things that I deal with, because you got his kids, her kids, and then sometimes their kids.
Right. Yeah.
And it is so tough to deal with, and I agree with you. I think that's why God hates divorce.
Yes.
Because it makes it so tough. So, there are no easy answers on that one.
No.
It is just trying to balance the whole aspect.
Right. Because, sometimes you'll have an ex-spouse, a woman on the other that's mad because her husband left her, and then causing issues in the family, or vice versa, the man. And that just adds so much of a struggle and stress on the children and everything else. I just love this when I see that they work so well together. When you see two families, it's almost like the kids just know it's seamless. And I wish we all could get to that point, and because it's so good for the children than having that stress and strife. And you think you're hurting that spouse, but you're really hurting the children. You're hurting them. And it's just so sad. I've seen that over and over again. And, like I've said, I'm around a lot more women. I'm talking to a lot more women. And that blended family is tough. It is.
It is the hardest thing I deal with in marriage. Because everything is unique. Everything's got, you may have the other parent fighting against, just like you said, or you may have parents not available.
Right.
And it just creates a lot of hard. I mean, if you're going to get married and it's a blended family, just know you're going to have challenges, and know you're going to have to learn to balance and give and work through issues. It's really tough.
Yeah, I think that's why I always say, like, your words are so important. Like, you praying, like your spiritual side, you have to pray. And, I always think that quiet time in the morning, and just really and pray to God for your whole situation, But it's just, to me, it's like a lot of people don't pray, and they just want to talk about it with everyone. And words are so powerful. And it's just, I know that God can turn the situation around and make it beautiful, and in so many different situations. But if you're constantly speaking that negativity out and speaking it to everyone, it just keeps the strife going. It keeps the stress going. So I knew you probably faced that with the blended families.
Well, life is in the power of the tongue.
That's right. Yes.
Poison or fruit.
That's right.
True.
And it's your choice every day,
Yeah, and the more you talk about the negative things, and
I think the biggest thing too is not walking around offended.
Oh yes,
when
definitely.
you're in a blended family, it's just don't be offended. I think that's like one of the biggest things I've learned, because it's like a lot of times maybe they didn't even mean it that way, or
Right, yeah.
anything like that, and then you're building it bigger in your head than it actually is. And
Yes. You're at Parkway Life,
Yes.
and that's in Lumberton, Texas. Okay. And your church is growing. I've just seen, we can just see it from the street. We're like, wow.
Amazing.
Yes.
You have 3 services
Yes.
right now. So people can come to your church how do they connect with you? Like if they wanted to they're having problems and need marriage counseling. What would you do?
Our church is at Parkway Life. Like you said, I have a business, and that is, you could go to my website. It's Adena Keading, ADINAKEATING.com.
Okay,
is
good.
my website.
And we're going to link that. So, yeah, for sure. So,
because I do individual counseling, I do couple counseling, and then what I've started in the last few years, to me, that is just so beneficial, is called intensives.
Okay.
And I'll do a 4-day intensive. I'll do a 3-day intensive. I'll do a couples intensive. That's 2 or 3 days.
What is that? What is an intensive?
So intensive is basically you're doing counseling from like 9 to 4.
Okay.
And it's called the Murray method is what I do. And everybody's had trauma. Not everybody's had abuse.
Right.
And so we don't compare trauma, but everyone has had trauma. So if you've had trauma, how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
And so this walks you through. We have exercises. We do all kind of things to walk you through from the past. So the thing that Marilyn Murray says all the time, that you can deal with today's feelings with just today's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And so an intensive takes you through this journey for 3
and
to 4
is it just
days.
one couple or several couples?
I normally do, if it's a couple, I'll do a couple by themselves.
Okay.
They can do it in a group setting. And I do offer group settings, and like I just did one, and it's had 8 ladies go through it. And, it's a little bit pricey, but when I say that, it's like you're getting 5 to 6 months of counseling in 4 days.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I can see
awesome.
that.
And to me, I see the benefit of that more because you're building upon.
Oh,
Whereas
yeah.
you come a week, you may be gone for 3 weeks, and
True.
then it's you got to start back up again. So this is just you spend hour after hour just building upon and giving, and I give you tools to walk out that you can learn how to deal with your emotions, learn how to set boundaries. There's all kind of things that we do. So that is what I've started doing the last couple years that I've.
Okay.
What I want to do is transition to solid intensives
and
just counsel those people that have gone through those.
Yeah, so that way you're not having that time period in between. It's just
It's so beneficial. It jumpstarts you so far. You're here in counseling, and it's like you just jump really far.
But how does a woman get her guy to go to an intensive? I guess you don't tell him it's an intensive.
You have to ask him because he has to be willing to come.
That's right. Yeah.
Or you do it for yourself and you be the best person.
That's right. Oh, so you can just do it just for yourself.
You can just do an individual person,
So if you have a woman that, and this is just something that just came to my mind, I feel like it's the Holy Spirit, but like if you have a woman that's being abused in some way, have you had anybody come to you in that situation? How do you counsel her? Because maybe she's wanting her marriage to work, but then she's scared because of what she's going through.
My first thing would be get to a safe place.
That's right. Okay,
get
good.
out and get to a safe place.
Right.
Abuse is not godly. God doesn't approve of it.
No.
God doesn't like it. He doesn't want it. So that would be my first thing is how can we get you safe?
Yeah.
Because for one, you've got to feel safe. You've got to be safe before we can make progress.
That's right.
And sometimes that has been a wake-up call for the other person that is being the abuser.
When you actually remove yourself from the situation.
And so, I'm not saying, okay, I'm divorced. I'm done.
Right.
But you got to get safe. You got to be safe.
You do. Yeah.
And then if that person doesn't want to come along and become better, well, then those decisions are being made for you.
Right.
Rather than
and that's that spiritual thing we're talking about. You're always, you never know what's going on, in the whole situation. So if you were to like talk to somebody like in the camera and tell them that feels like they've hit rock bottom and they don't think their marriage is going to work, like, and maybe he's about to walk out, what would you tell them in that situation?
First of all, God has not forgotten you. He knows where you're at. He promised he would never leave you or forsake you. And if you're in a situation that you feel like is hopeless, God is still there. It takes two. So, I can't say, oh, yeah, it's going to work out, because it may not, because it takes 2 people to work on a marriage. So if someone is walking out and you don't want them to leave, you don't have that power. So you can only be the best you can be. And if they walk out, God will never leave you or forsake you. Get into a community, get in with people that can love and support you during this time. You will make it through this time. If they decide to leave you and not come back, you will make it.
Right.
There have been thousands upon thousands of people who have made it. Not that they wanted to, but they had to because the person did not want to stay. So maybe it'll turn around, but if it doesn't, you're going to be okay. You're going to make it because God's going to be with you.
That's right. That's so good, Adena. I love that. I love you, Adena. We just met, but if I needed to go through counseling, I would definitely go to you for sure.
Yes,
I'm telling
yes.
you the truth, because speaks the truth, and I think I can see your heart, when you talk. And so, if you are having any issues or with your marriage, I mean, that's what the podcast is about. We're wanting to shine the light on those things. Those dark things that you're going through, and maybe nobody in your family or friends knows you're going through it, but God, He knows you're going through it, and maybe watching this today has told you maybe you need to step out and do something, and maybe it doesn't need to be so bad. Maybe catch it before it gets to that point.
Please do that.
I feel like a lot of people wait. Yeah,
I do too. I feel like we wait, and it's like there's nothing wrong with making your marriage even better. I think what we think of is we got to wait till it gets to the end, and we don't. It's just if you're seeing something that just looks like a disconnect, reach out, find somebody, and we're going to link all your information below.
Thank you.
And also Parkway Life. If you're in the Lumberton area, go there because her and her husband are amazing, and their church is growing.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. And I thank you for being on this with us because I know you're going to help people. I know from watching this, you're going to help people. And so I just want to thank you for listening. And what we always say is share this with other people because someone maybe have marriage issues or things like that. By you sharing it, they're going to get it out there to other people. And subscribe. When you subscribe, we're doing these every week. So when you subscribe, you're not going to miss anything. You're going to get the next one, and we're going to give you all the information you need because we are shining light on the dark places. So anyway, we love you for being here with us, and subscribe, hit the notification button, and just make sure you're always tuning in with us.
Always remember you're never alone in anything that you go through, and God's light is always shining through you.
Yes, and thank you. Thank you for being with us. Bye-bye.